Well, if you've watched Owning Manhattan on Netflix, you've seen the pressure, you've seen the pace, you've definitely seen the personalities and the stakes at real estate at the highest level. What you haven't seen is how that level of performance is actually built behind the scenes. Today's guest is a very close friend of the Prime family, Mr. Jordan March. He's actually a previous guest on the Prime People podcast, known him for years, and I've been watching him grow as a managing partner of SERHANT, co-founder of the Empire Collective, and one of the operators responsible for building systems, teams, and standards inside of one of the most visible real estate brands on the planet. In this conversation, we're going to talk about what the show doesn't show. We're going to talk about how elite teams are trained, how media actually converts into business, what breaks when company scales too fast, and what it really takes to operate at a level for years without losing alignment. If you're an agent, entrepreneur, or a leader building something serious, this episode will give you clarity on what matters and what doesn't.
Welcome to Prime, real conversations in real estate.
So Jordan, you are an old friend of the Prime family. Met you guys actually and initially started working with Ryan back when he was at the Soho office. And then when he founded SERHANT, you were kind enough to give us a lot of your time when we were in New York City. But I think what's been more fun for me is watching your growth along your path in real estate and the rocket ship growth that SERHANT experienced. So I guess before we get into all the Owning Manhattan stuff and where you're going with your career, I would love to know, like, before celebrity and after, you've still been consistent through. Like, what was the thing that was able to keep you balanced during such a crazy time?
I think the biggest thing with success and money is that money loves systems. And I felt like if I was always honoring a specific system, I would have enough of like a controlled process to be able to either scale, take away, just really look at in a very scientific sort of a way where it's like a study and even creating processes that test the process itself.
Hmm.
But ultimately, like, it comes from a deep identity, man. Like, you guys have to be really locked into who you are and what you want to attract, like why you're doing what you're doing, because ultimately that's what has you take action to get out of whatever your problems are, right? Like, we're all fighting towards something, or trying to defeat something, or trying to grow in certain ways, but often we're fighting poverty, right? And we're trying to just set up our families and our lives and our futures and our the next generation ahead of us. So if I haven't had like really, really strong identity, it's so hard to take action from that place. So if you're always saying like, I can't make calls, or I'm not a good broker, or, deep down that your definition of yourself isn't as high as it should be, then you can try to take action and make calls and just get after things all day. But like, to me, that's the foundation of like what makes someone successful is their first acknowledgement of themselves before you even start. And then I find that all the actions that you will take afterwards are easier. Affirmations are amazing for that. Meditation, and then also being around, people that really encourage you, reading books that also teach you about yourself. How often do you read a book and you're more motivated and just having an entirely new perspective than you did before you were educated on whatever that person was trying to convey?
Yeah, and there's two parts to that that I want to highlight, right? Like, people look at you, first of all, you've got probably some of the best style on the show for sure. And people can see that and almost like pigeonhole you and put a narrative on you that that's who you are. Yet the first thing you say on the show is really around the systems and the iterative testing of those systems and not being afraid to get rid of what doesn't work and keep more of what's working. You have a very interesting technical aptitude to your approach to real estate, which can get overlooked because of the style component of how you approach it as well too. I guess, what did your earlier careers teach you about kind of pressure and expectations, and where did this like love for systems actually come from?
Well, it's funny. I actually went broke in this business around like 2010, and I got a job in media where everything was about companies of the 21st century, right? We are being disrupted by so much other. If you're in real estate, it's Zillow, right? Aggregator sites. If you're looking for a taxi, it's Uber. If you're trying to get food, it's DoorDash or whatever, right? So like all these aggregator sites were disrupting industry I saw, and I was like, that's a problem that we should solve, or that's something that I should leverage. And then two was I just were lucky to be around mentors that were very obsessed with like really business engineering and looking at how venture capital companies touch businesses, because agnostic to the company or vertical or industry, you'll find that they look at the same exact thing. Just like when you get into you're pitching Shark Tank, right? They're asking a lot of the same questions because ultimately business, whether it's direct to consumer or B2B, a lot of the same things exist as far as how people make decisions, the value that people want to see, and why ultimately people are getting objections. And for me, like I just with doing it was able to see that this was able to help me architect my business in a way that I was able to do less and still get more. I was able to work smarter but not harder. And I was able to have a lot of breakthroughs with my previous companies in this capacity too.
Yeah, it's what you just said, just a light bulb went off. People overcomplicate everything when in reality, business is simple, right? We're going through it right now. So, like, we cold call a ton here, and I have one of my best guys who's calling thousands of people a month, but the conversion ratios aren't there. I'm like, all right, let's look at Alex Hermosi's offers and like, what offer are you actually making these people when you're talking to them? Like, would you work with yourself?
Right.
No, switch the offer. Keep it really, really simple, right? I guess the other thing I was going to ask you earlier, you mentioned, keeping the boat afloat. Manhattan real estate is super expensive, so I can totally understand why that's a big, big factor. But going into the Manhattan real estate market, what was something you found that was surprising about that maybe you didn't realize before?
It's very difficult to break into. I think it just seems like it's a bunch of hard work and that's it. But Manhattan is very, very built on relationships. That's not to say that people want to discover you, but like building relationships was as important as the hustle, right? And I say because it's not a hustle, it's building relationships, it's being trustworthy, it's getting people to know you, it's being vulnerable, it's being authentic, it's being curious and curious about their lives. And all of those things were just as important as work in the room. So you get in, you're networking with 10 people, but only one person can really change your life. Are you spending the time just trying to jump around the room and meet 10 people? Or do you really double down with that one person that can change your life? So I am very much more in a way that I have a systems thinking of how I approach networking, because
Mhm.
I'm looking for that one person and I'm looking to get into the right rooms where now that one person also is equally as honest and transparent and open, right? And it doesn't happen in every room that they can let their hair down rather than being working, right? So
Mhm.
how do I make sure that I'm in the right rooms with the right people, and how am I really working on the relationship and building that familiarity and that comfort as much as I'm trying to pitch a deal, if not more so, right? I don't even talk deals. I talk traveling. I talk books. I talk philosophy. I talk kids. I talk sports. I talk meditation, whatever. And you'd be surprised how just getting people to like you and building trust helps you in every part of the decision process. As they start to work with you, they will work with you over somebody that may have a more thorough reputation just because they know you and they trust you. How often they say, "Oh, I'm going to use my cousin for this deal," or "I'm going to use a person in my building." What are they saying? They're saying that the proximity of the person is probably more important than the other parts of the decision, which would be reputation, deals closed, sales, familiarity. That trust will overlook some other things, even to a negative default, right? Like imagine now I use my cousin, it blew up my face. I go, what was the lesson I got to learn there, right? Having trust is more powerful than just being someone that is a competent person, right?
Yeah, I think you could actually execute at a much higher level with that trust as well, too, right? Like it's earned in
Oh
long
yeah.
stages where there was a deal recently I watched happen where the end was so torturous for the seller and the agent that did that deal because trust was lost through the process. Communication wasn't what it was supposed to be. Expectations weren't set. So by the time they brought them an offer that was a record-setting offer for their building, a moment where they should have been high-fiving, the seller was frustrated with the situation. And a lot of it came down to that earned trust and that earned ability to be in relationship with people. Yeah, another thing I'll notice about you is over the years that I've known you, you've always been the same person to me and my crew behind closed doors as you are online, and the persona that you have. I think when I go into rooms where people are working the room or they want to get around celebrity, or they're, I hate to say this word, but parasitic, right? That you can tell that they're just there for the clout. You can smell it a mile away. Where I find when you're around a group of people who are genuinely interested in you and what you're doing and your family and the things that you're interested in, like you were talking about, right? Travel, food, what are you working on today that's working? What are you working on? Starting? Oh, you like systems? Let's talk about that. And there's really no want from either side, and they leave the room. The next time they re-engage, there's even more sharing, because it's not like, okay, this guy just wants something from me. It's like, oh, yo, I haven't seen you in 6 months. What are you working on now? And like those relationships to me, I absolutely love. And I find you can build trust over time by showing up as the same person you are behind the scenes, or you are objectively. For you, that's going to be a bit of a challenge, obviously, because like I'm sure the show is edited a little bit. But how do you do it? Because you're the same guy here as I met at Sell It when I was there with the crew last time, as I see on the show.
Well, I don't take myself too serious. I think that's the biggest thing. I don't necessarily wear my resume on my sleeve. I don't pontificate things. I think humility and being very casual in nature is just as important as it is when it is time to really sell yourself. So know when to kind of suck in your aura a bit and like just be there for people. What motivates people? People want to get invites to cool things. People want to hear about even gossip, like whatever, like you'd be surprised just having the things that help people feel motivated in their life, or what value is someone going to come to you just to be an ear, tips, could you help people out or referral? How could you be a resource to that person's life and where they want to get in their life? If anything, maybe it's an introduction. That's where the end of the relationship is. But I think it's really important just to get out of talking business and where are you traveling? Where are you cooking? What are you eating? Are you on a new diet? Do you have a new book that's like getting you crazy? Is there a new series that's cool? Is there hobbies that are compelling you? Is there a new fact or just some like, information in the market that we want to know? Like, how are you educating people? What value are you ultimately providing people? And how do you stay in that space?
Have you read Buy Back Your Time, the book by Dan Martell?
I did not. I do know of it, but I did not.
So I coach with Dan, known for a super long time through actual some mutual connections as well. He is like the systems guy. So it's funny that you said everything you just said, because about an hour before this, I made an introduction to Dan to somebody else in an ecosystem that you may happen to know, for a collaboration, because I'm like, man, these crews are monsters. Dan's an ecosystem where he's in systems tech. He's a software guy. And these people are in a space where they do a ton of stuff in AI. I'm going to put these two monsters in a room and watch the fireworks and just back off. And I'm sure you've done the same thing in your career over the years, where you're like, I know this guy, they're freaking awesome. I know this person, they're freaking awesome. You make a connection. Maybe there's no direct benefit to you immediately, but your ecosystem continues to amplify, and then you get motivated watching them execute, right? Like, I feel like you have a way of doing that where maybe it isn't an actual system and a checklist. It's almost innately in the Jordan OS that you've built over the years, right? Like these little systems that you've built in the way that you network, that isn't, hey, look at buy and sell real estate. I'm Jordan March. It's much more casual. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. The thing is, when you put your face out there everywhere and you're marketing well, you don't need to exert as much force, because they're already, you'll find that people end up at your doorsteps and you're like, oh, you saw that? Like, okay, what motivated you to come to my doorstep now, or call my phone, or drop me a text? You already a lot of times have the sale. You don't need to put as much energy in when the marketing works. So I like systems. I don't necessarily do it arbitrarily. I think about it two ways, right? You're either going to get leads because you market yourself really, really well. The people pick up the phone to call you, or you have to get your outbound strategy down tight. Call, text, email, and just, rub shoulders, right? So often that looks like, what am I doing on a content like internet level? And then what am I doing on an interpersonal level? Where am I going? And what am I hosting as much as going? Because what I love is when you have an event, or you have a party, you have a dinner, you have a luncheon, you have a breakfast, whatever, right? I rent the movie out for the kids the other day and say, hey, everybody's going to come to the movies. You're free. Guess what? Parents get the time to take off. They get to drop the kid. Now I had a relationship. It cost me $30 per kid, or whatever it is. But that was a relationship I keep for the year because I established a strong relationship. So I look at systems in a very strategic way, because you have to look at it in a multi-faceted, multi-channel marketing way, which is, what am I doing with all the different tools that I have? In the past, like I tell people, you have a couple tools in your tool belt. Now you have an entire tool shed, and you have tools that you don't know how to use, right? Just like if I pick up the saw and go, well, how do I turn it on? I go, oh, you probably shouldn't use it yet. Start with the hand saw, right? We're not going to work out. But it's the same thing as, hey, I'm not tweeting every day, but can I write a newsletter? I don't do a ton of content, but could I have some evergreen content that at least let me establish myself as a brand? I can't cut it myself, but can I delegate for somebody to cut it for me? Right? These are things that you now just have to level up with and create a strategy to say, what am I doing on an interpersonal level? What am I doing at an outbound level? And what am I doing marketing wise? Google, search, social, Yahoo, Bing, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube Reels, you name it. But you have 5, 6 platforms now that I can put the same exact video on. And now I have 7, 8 chances of virality if I do LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, whatever, right? Now I have 5, 6, 7 chances for that same video to just reach more people, convert more, and ultimately a higher chance at virality. But just from a distribution point of view, if I did one video and put it on 5 platforms, it counts as 5 videos. 5 videos over 30 days is 150 videos.
Mm-hmm.
That 150 videos, those videos you did one video every day, I could take a 1-hour segment like this conversation or any conversation you guys can create and cut them up into 15 to 20 second snippets. And now I have content that'll last me a month. And I can post stuff too. I can archive it and repost the bloody thing. It did well. Let's do it again. Maybe for our audience, but it's about utility of conversation. It's not a popularity contest.
I love everything that you said, because I mean, after we're done this, you can hit up my assistant. She'll send you the full file. You could literally pull the transcript from this, take all of my words out, and write a number of blog posts around all things being on TV, building systems, technology. Like, you can extrapolate so much from one piece of content if you're willing to make the effort. And I'd say video content is the most powerful if you can get comfortable. But the reality is most people, they keep themselves busy, right? They scroll social media, they look at the MLS, but they don't actually do anything. There's no intention. They're not like, okay, I'm going to pull every multifamily building and find out what they sold for so I have something to tell people. I'm not going to go on stories and start getting comfortable on camera with posts that are going to disappear so that I can post that one video a week. There's a lack of intentionality, and everything that you're saying really, really does lead to that, right? Of saying, like, listen, like, use your past mistakes to formulate where you're going in the future. One real simple question I have for you is, what's an early mistake or challenge that you had that forced you to level up very, very quickly?
Spreading myself too thin, not the follow-up, the art of the follow-up. But the follow-up is not, hey, I'm following up. Literally never say that. Hey, just following up with you. Provide information. Tell them that you're thinking about them. Just call and get to the point. But, like, build a relationship again. Like, I've met a lot of people, and everybody will walk in the room. I know XYZ, and I know ABC, and I met, Jay-Z. Well, what do you do with it? What did you leverage the conversation to? Did you build a relationship, or did you stop it at, hey, I just met the guy? You know the guy. Does the guy like you as much as you're conveying? That's the biggest thing, is that, like, everybody that I met, I did not hook my fangs into them, and I did not really make my life work for me. Because now, if you're going out, you know that you're a networker, and then you're in the process of meeting people, that it isn't so bad to go to that other event. Even if it costs a little bit of money, it's not so bad to fly first class, because you know that you're going to rub shoulders with the guy that's sitting next to you. And you're going to go to the better hotels because you're going to meet the right people. So you're making decisions of how your life can help propel your ability to be visible and your ability to be around your target network in the right way. And I couple it. I'd make my life work for you. I think if you compartmentalize things too much, then it can feel like a task every time you have to reset and then get into the next task. It's not just like the same energy spread across all tasks, right? There's kind of those peaks and valleys in our energy and our intention and just our flow, I think is the word I'm looking for, right? So I think you have to be in a flow state and just, like, having rebellious, radical level of, like, mindset, because everybody near you will be going slower than you.
Yeah.
Sit with that.
Yeah.
I will not ask anybody for advice because they're not doing anything that I'm doing except for Ryan SERHANT. And he's a maniac.
Yeah.
He will outwork you on his worst day because he has systems and he has a schedule. And that's what money honors at the end of the day. Not law of attraction. They feel good about it. You have to start with identity. You have to start with, but it is, at the end of the day, what are we now putting into place so that everything can really have the roots to manifest. I cannot plant a seed in no soil, and I can't plant a seed and not water it. And a lot of us are walking around with seeds in our hand. We have watered it, we haven't planted it, we haven't nurtured it. And then we still got to wait for the sunlight, right? Which is God, right?
Yeah.
Or the universe, or just the other side of probability, right? But when you start to understand that this is a formula of my life working, so now guess what? I do dinners all the time. I never put up videos of my dinners. And I go, what the heck am I doing? All these little videos of everybody doing their dinner. I could be a lifestyle guru in 2 seconds, just basically last month.
Yeah.
I'm just doing the dinner and let it work for me now. Take the picture, go to the guy and say, no, I'm taking the picture because that's building my brand. And brand marketers are always building their brand. Beyonce's on to the next dance, the next album, the next time you're going to get tired of her. Right? So it's the same thinking, right? If you don't communicate to your audience and market to them, then somebody will. Why does a brand buy the Super Bowl commercial space? Because they know that they can broadcast their message to the largest audience. It's not that they were able to broadcast before, but this audience and this reach is so unique. It's the same thing with your phone that's tapping into 4 corners of the world. I can use this phone to reach any country in the world and broadcast my message. But I'm still here about, yeah, the people don't reject me and da 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 da. And I go, well, you got to get real about, is this goal really there for you? And are you going to do the tough work? And are you going to do the deep work to say, okay, I have to really fight these demons of self-love, of validation, of acknowledgement, of my own worthiness? Because ultimately, if I solve those problems, I will make more money. I will get to where I am. And that version of self-love, of not keeping and hindering our own selves, not the market, not my boss, but me staying in my own way. How do I look at that as being my number one roadblock in 2026 to level up? And that's where the internal work goes. I'm just in my comfort zone and making excuses. I didn't cut that video because it's an excuse. The light will never be perfect. Guess what? My internet was acting weird. We're on our phone banging it out right now.
Yeah.
Right? The scheduling didn't go right. We got another time in the calendar.
Yeah.
Right? You're just rolling life. You can't waste time on looking for forgiveness and regrets and shoulda, woulda, coulda. And I see a lot of people talking about in the top of the year. Who cares what the top of the year the market did? What are you doing today to plant seeds for your business?
Yeah, I'm laughing because Dan actually said yesterday on a call I was with him, he's like, you can start a diet in the middle of a bag of chips. Like everybody talks about planning about tomorrow and blah, 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 blah. He's like, just take action and actually just do something, right? And everything you just said, it does come down to mindset, right? So everything you just talked about, people often have ambitions, right? And they think that they're tracking towards their ambitions. But I bet if you looked at their bank account or their calendar, it would tell a very different story than who they're telling themselves they're trying to be. I think you just, again, simplifying business and simplifying systems. It's like, man, just set a target, start taking actions toward that target, and don't get rattled if things don't go perfect, because that's life and business. If it's going perfect, your ambitions probably aren't big enough. And you touched on something that I guess I'd like to go into a little bit on the team building side and how you've really imparted your standards to people that you've trained over the years. How do you do that? Like, you clearly have standards and you've built systems that you hold yourself to. Something I've always been so curious about is, like, I always think I need to save everybody, but like, how do you help somebody level up their standards when you're training a team or building something bigger than just yourself?
It's all about the why. People will never take action for things in their life that are pushing them outside their comfort zone unless their why is big enough. And it's one thing you even see that people do in addiction a lot when they're doing a lot of people who want to have breakthroughs and finally stop smoking or drinking. They'll have them list all of the things that they missed out on, the birthdays that they missed, the relationships that they missed, the times that they weren't present for a family gathering, the times that they weren't there for work, the times that they dropped out of not keeping their hobbies or staying in the gym, right? Like, all of those things will get to someone's real deep sort of psyche of their why. And that's what I find that people will ultimately start to look at and say, the regret and the pain of not carrying out my goals is a lot greater than this video or the call or the thing that is really driving me into fear. And fear only gets bigger if you don't address it. It starts like this, and the more you think about it, the more it expands. And then all of a sudden you realize that it was just fear the entire time. If anything, on the other side of this is the validation, the community, the tribe, the connection, the companionship, and the community that you wanted to build. You've heard this.
It's so interesting that you say that, right? Because fear's a nasty little bugger. Like if you just give it too much time or you feed it, it gets bigger and it gets bigger and it gets bigger, and then you start believing it. Jocko Willing, Navy SEAL, business coach, amazing guy, was talking about like, how do you overcome fear? He's like, just go. He's like, literally just go. He's like, instead of worrying about all of the things that may never happen, just take a step forward too. And I love how you actually tied that in with the purpose piece. You know, transitioning into the Owning Manhattan, was there any fear when you first got the call for the first season of that show?
Yeah, it's not fear, but you're rattled up. Like, yeah. It's funny because when I fought with Chloe, it was the first day I filmed that episode. And the second episode, I was the first day.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
And it was a fight. And I go, and even Ryan said something crazy. And I'm like, this is a lot, but it's not fear. It's like, for me, it was, you can't control necessarily your narrative, but you can, right? Mm-hmm. I don't do the edit. There's things that I wish you saw that you didn't see. So I think the fear of what I can't control was what bothered me the most. But at the end of the day, I surrendered to the process. I put my best foot forward and made sure I was very conscious of what I was putting out there. And then like knowing that like I'm going up and like heights are scary, right? Like if you want to climb Mount Everest, it's scary. Anything worth it is going to be scary. Otherwise, it would not be new territory, and you would not find it exciting and exhilarating, compelling if it was just walking down the street. Is not like taking a snowboard down the mountain, right? One is going to give you the biggest ride of your life. The other one is something that's okay, right? Everybody can walk. So you have to realize that the things that are going to really drive you and to you closest to your dreams are probably going to scare the living daylights out of you. And if they're not, then you probably should even dream bigger. Your dreams should scare you. What if this all falls apart? Everybody says it, but that's a reality for everybody, whether it's their business, whether it's their marriage, whether it's their health, right? What if I can't keep it up? And we have so many scenarios that we create and paint that will allow us to have paralysis and not taking steps. So we're a lot more scared of the success or the perception of failure than the actual failure itself, because failure doesn't really exist if you keep up going. It's not failure. It's just a lesson to be learned about success, right? So I think if you could really take out what am I really scared of? And sometimes you have to ask your personal question. Ask your psyche, what am I scared of here? And you'll start to see that it is not authentic. It is not real. It was just a call. The conversation wasn't that hard and wasn't that bad. And guess what? You didn't disintegrate after the conversation. And I've even had clients that I've had to give bad information to, right? You know, those tough conversations. After the conversation with a game plan. Or maybe they're angry and then they say their piece and it's over. And then you move on. You live another day, right? So get out of your own way is the biggest thing that I tell people. And that is doing that deep work. And it's not going to wait till tomorrow. And I'm not going to wussy out on this thing because it just doesn't feel right. Because I know on the other side of this is that relationship with my children. It's sending them to college. It's making sure I can put my mom in a retirement home. It's making sure that I can retire when the time is right. It's making sure that I got stuff set up if anything happens to me. It's getting that nice car, that blue Porsche that you were like, I always wanted this thing, but I never saw myself in it. You got to start seeing yourself in it, right? And maybe it's not this commission check.
Yeah, the worst thing that ever happened to you is the worst thing that ever happened to you. And like something that you did early on in your career when you came to Manhattan, where you're like, you get your first listing. It's so scary. You think back on that now, the level of deals that you're doing and like cracking into new development and doing the things that you wanted to do. You're like, man, that's a 1 out of 10 compared to my problems now. And the problems you're going to have in the future, if you have big goals, are going to be a 2 out of 10 in 10 years if you're not afraid. And truthfully, there is no such thing as failure. You discover who you are by doing things. And I think another very interesting thing I've seen about you is your personality or your self-worth isn't tied to whether or not you're on Owning Manhattan on Netflix. Like you've been the same dude before and after. And I think that's where like you can see it clear as day with other people where if they're not on the show, they didn't get picked, like your whole life implodes. It's a part of your story, but it's not the entire story, right?
Yeah, I mean, let's put it in terms of value. How much can I pay you for a year of your life? Let's say if I gave you $10 billion, but you only had a year left, would you take it?
No, I wouldn't. Not in a million years. No.
So what's the cost of our lives? What's the cost of our value? The thing is, we're putting a lot of things over us when they're actually under us.
Mm-hmm.
We're the ones who run the money. We're the stewards of money. You see how that works?
Mm-hmm. Ever put it like that way to me before.
Yeah, like, but if you really think about it, it's like we're thinking that we can improve our value. You can't necessarily improve your value, right? You can. Let me say it the right way, because of course, as a broker, there's things you can do to improve value. But like, our inherent value is who we are as people. If I look at a baby, and if the person said, "Hey, this baby can be a billionaire one day," we wouldn't say, "That's not possible. How is that going to work?" But then why do we say it for ourselves? You would never look at a baby, and if someone said, "Hey, he's going to be the next president," you'd be like, "You can be whatever you want to be," right? Everybody has the same potentiality on some level, right? But where do we lose that side of ourselves that anything is possible? The best is really yet to come. A lot of people are counting their years, and I'm old now, and I hear so many people talking about age. I'll be 38.
Yeah, bro.
I'm not saying it, you don't look, you look your type, but like, I feel young. I smell young. I go places where young people do. I watch the young stuff. I dress young. I like to stay current and hip. I put the extra energy into my health and making sure I feel fit and feel my best and look my best and know what's going on and the hot music. And like, there are people who are living in this. People, all they do is talk about age, and all they do is talk about the good days, and all they do, you guys are missing the boat, But ultimately, if I get it all, great. And if I don't, it's still okay, because the money is representation of the things that I'm creating also internally and the breakthroughs that I'm happening, because you don't get the money day one, but you get the internal gold first, that your internal reality is really embodying your future reality, and that acknowledgement of like, where am I going, and starting with the end at mind, and like knowing that the problems that I have are temporary. It's just temporary. Oh, I can't see myself out of it. My wife, my this, my that, my husband, my bank account, whatever it is. It's temporary. And you have to go with it in that mindset. I've had so many money issues over these years. I was never good. I started at 21. I was like, what do I do with $100,000 in my hand? It'll last forever, right? And then you go down, you go up, you go down. But I realized that ultimately it didn't change who I was and where I'm going and what was already mine. Because when you start to claim things in the future, you'll see that having strong expectations over things is the best way to really push yourself into the space of having it in the first place, right? Have crazy radical beliefs. Everybody that's broken a Guinness Book of World Record had to believe something. So what are you believing, or what limiting beliefs are we having every day? And everybody's got them, right? We're all human. You're the president of the United States. Can I do it one more time? Am I still the good, the good celebrity, or the good politician, or the good mother, or the good father? But when you start with a high definition, go out and prove it to yourself. Prove that definition to yourself by the action that you take every single day. Back into it now. But start with identity, because it's so hard to take action from not a place of who, and a firm, deep understanding of who you are. So I knew I was going to be a top broker. I said how much I was going to make. Did I know it was going to be Netflix? No, there was even a show out when I started. But I know where I wanted to go. So I'm not surprised. I'm happy, but I'm not surprised, because I set myself up. Stay ready so you don't have to get ready. I stay in the momentum state. I'm always leveraging introductions, proposals, getting the word out, right? Building the business, not sleeping in, right? Like, it takes a couple minutes to send a proposal out, DMs out, just like leveraging your voice, leveraging your brand, and knowing that this is going to work out for me, and staying in that place.
I love all of those things too, right? Like, all things are art and math, right? If you're assessing a property, there's the math, there's the comparables, and then there's the art of understanding how the market is moving, because you're in the flow and you know how things are. Same thing with targets, right? Like, the math is getting the credibility, getting the Netflix show, getting the money. The art, like you said, is knowing who you are. And I think when the music turns off, which it will turn off at some point or another for everybody in times, if you have that stability of being in flow, being great with yourself when the music's turned off. When it's on, man, are you on? Because that math doesn't tend to define you. Actually, that was a question one of my team members, you met him actually when we were at Sell It, Rob. He asked a question and he wanted me to ask. He said, has your business changed since you entered this world of celebrity, like with the exposure that you had from the show and social?
Yeah, but it's how am I changing my business with what I'm given?
Okay.
I think everybody's looking to hear that my phone's going to ring off the hook. And there are people in my network that are calling. There are a few people who reach out, but like, is it just like Michael Jackson Thriller and everybody's calling? No, right? Like, you got to leverage what you got. So I got to take it and then say, I got this offering. I got this thesis. I have this brand, whatever you guys are selling at home. How do I get it now into the right hands? How do I make sure I get into the right mailboxes? How do I make sure I'm putting it in the right places and in the right rooms? So it's leverage is what's improving my business, not just, I get everybody's calling, pitching me with this. I want to work for you. Blah, blah, blah. Like, you hear it all. I'm having to like just get through it all. But what I would say is when you have what is your foundation, whether it's your company, your brand, your wins, you have new press that's coming on. How do you leverage it? Right. And we hear this in every business. Oh, they were popular for selling music, but guess what? This person leveraged it into this. Hey, Jay-Z, 50 Cent are great. They leverage it into movies, into sneakers, into these things. I'm giving you an example, like sports stars going into business, right? How are you leveraging what you've already done in your life so far? And of course, narrative of where you are at now. And it could be that you're working with a guy like Jordan or like Ryan. Leverage it. Put my name out there everywhere, right? It's the same thing. So what I tell people is don't be passive. This is a momentous business. I don't even sleep right now. I wake up, I do a couple of DMs. I'm looking for people. I'm looking for the right people because I know I have a high leverage at this point. So I have to leverage it into the people that are going to make the most impact. I'm not just going to network with the wrong people.
I have a system to share with you actually. That I got from Dan Martell. It's called Sell by Chat. People can Google it and look it up because it's all about that intentionality piece, right? You're waking up and doing the DM thing. And I want to double tap on that for a second because there have been hundreds of reality TV brokers over the years. And I remember when people would hate on Ryan, like I'd be in ecosystems like, no, like I know Ryan. Like I kind of know him outside of the celebrity piece. Think about this, right? Think about the hundreds of agents that were on reality TV. There's like 5% of them that have done anything with it. And what you guys are doing right now with Owning Manhattan, first off, if you're watching or listening to this podcast, go watch the show. No spoilers, but Jordan really does on this season stand in his power and ask for what he wants and goes into this one pitch. I want to talk about it, but I don't want to spoil it for anybody. And dude, I was rooting for you. When you get that listing, despite all of the negative mental self-talk that could have happened, I was like, so happy for you because it speaks to everything that you've shared on this podcast, right? Of standing in your power and going after what you want, not being afraid of potentially losing it. And what you're doing with the opportunity right now, like we know each other. So like the DM was an easy yes for me to be like, yeah, let's do it. Let's chop it up. He is going to go so far in leveraging this opportunity and carrying you through versus people that are like, I finally made it. I'm on Netflix. Everybody come work with me. I'm like, the world doesn't work like that. Like, you're just going to be another agent celebrity that is going to come and go. But I think what you're doing right now is going to create longevity and definitely let more people know who you are.
Absolutely. Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah. And I mean it. I genuinely mean it. I know you have a stacked day. You got multiple podcasts on the go. You're selling real estate.
No, I appreciate this, man. It's been huge to see the receptivity on this season.
Yeah, there's so much more. Like I said, I don't want to spoil it for anybody, so I really didn't want to go into any detail, but there's a lot there.
Yep, if you're at home, if you love New York real estate, you love Ryan SERHANT, if you love me from this podcast, and ultimately just want to see the art of the deal in New York with a homage to New York architecture and like the lifestyle in New York, it's the show. Plus, it's great reality drama.
Yeah. Well, I will definitely share this out to a lot of different ecosystems out there that I am in. And if you want to connect with Jordan March, just make a point of going to his Instagram and sending him a message or ask me for an intro and I'll connect him with you. Obviously, if you're doing real estate in New York City and you want a direct connection, we've got your back as well. Jordan, this was one of my favorite episodes we've had lately. There's so much. Appreciate you making the time, brother, and definitely see you on the next one.
Thank you, man. Thank you guys at home.